What started on August 5, 2011 as a 5-year journey to Jupiter continues to take achievements in science one step further. In 2022, Juno even came forward with the closest views of Europa. But there's one thing that NASA's fuming over: the probe glitch cost them over 200 Jupiter photos. It seems like Juno's JunoCam imager isn't working so well, but in space, you can't afford something like that, especially when you've come close. In fact, for the second flyby in a row, a key camera studying Jupiter was still struggling to take high-quality photos.
In August 2011, NASA's Juno spacecraft began its long journey towards the solar system's largest planet, Jupiter.
Let's rewind and cover the basics first. Now, the Juno spacecraft launched back in 2011 and arrived at Jupiter in 2016, completing a 5-year-long journey. And ever since then, it's made about 50 flybys of the giant planet of our solar system. And during this time, it caught valuable glimpses of Jupiter's largest moons. Each seemed like a strange world in its own right. But the most recent flyby on January 22, 2023 didn't go so well because the camera could hardly capture about 1/5 of the planned images.
Juno was built to withstand the harsh and unforgiving environment that surrounds Jupiter.
And it wasn't a coincidence, because the same issue occurred in the previous flyby back in December. So obviously, since it was a recurring issue costing them hundreds of valuable pictures, mission personnel needed to figure out what was happening. And it turns out that the camera glitch resulted from one thing: the camera would have an unusually high temperature during the flyby. And according to a recent statement, the team at NASA is working on it. But that wasn't the only issue. Not long ago, after the December 14, 2022 flyby, Juno experienced a memory issue that sent the spacecraft into safe mode. And let's just say it ended up creating a massive delay in data transmission to Earth. But thankfully, Juno bounced back pretty smoothly and most of the sensitive data safely reached Earth. Sadly, that wasn't the case for JunoCam, which struggled early in the flyby.
Juno passed Earth in October 2013, gaining a boost of more than 8,800 miles per hour.
Now, the camera was directed to capture 90 images during the flyby, but the first 4 were an absolute mess. And that's because whenever the JunoCam was turned on, temperatures skyrocketed enough to interfere with photography. And it wasn't until the first 4 images that the instrument had cooled off, which is why those pictures didn't make the cut. And while it seemed fixable at the time, the January flyby confirmed one thing: this is now a recurring issue that needs to be addressed. In fact, the delay was longer than expected, 23 hours, as opposed to the 36 minutes NASA was expecting after the first glitch.
Now traveling at a speed of nearly 93,000 miles per hour, or 149,000 kilometers an hour.
So if you do the math, there were more than 4 photos that didn't make the cut this time. 214 images to be exact. That's right, 214 images were literally rendered unusable, leaving NASA with just 44 decent photos after the instrument was cooled enough. If you think about it, it's a pretty big jump from 36 minutes to 23 hours. So for the next flyby, there's a possibility that NASA would hardly have any usable pictures at all. And that's not a risk they're willing to take. So the NASA officials wrote in a statement that their mission team is evaluating all the JunoCam engineering data that they've got over the last 2 flybys.
In July 2016, 5 long years after its launch, Juno finally arrived at Jupiter.
Specifically the 47th and 48th of the mission. And with that, they said they're investigating the root cause of anomaly and mitigation strategies. Basically, they're trying to figure out why most images taken by the solar-powered orbiter weren't saved after all. As for now, they're going to keep the JunoCam turned on and let it operate in its nominal state, but that's until the next flyby. It's set to happen on March 1st. Now, the mission personnel even considered that they'd just launch Juno instead without any camera on board, and that would make sense considering that the spacecraft's actual science goals didn't really need such an instrument anyway. But then, NASA decided to add a JunoCam anyway as a form of a public outreach project.
In August 2016, Juno successfully completed the first of many orbitable flybys, which are known as perijoves.
The color camera snaps photos on the tops of Jupiter's dynamic clouds, and we've all seen how brilliant these images turn out. And let's not forget, they didn't even guarantee that JunoCam would last this long. If anything, it was designed to survive about 7 passes through the dangerous environment surrounding Jupiter, and it's literally been working fine over the last 50 flybys. In fact, with that said, "I'm not even going to consider the camera glitch as some sort of massive failure either. After all, the Juno cam has delivered many brilliant images of the solar system's largest planet, and that's not all."
Because of Juno's specially designed orbit around Jupiter, the spacecraft can fly extremely close to the planet's atmosphere.
Juno is operating beyond its actual mission. That's right, its primary mission ended way back in July of 2021. But since everything seemed to be going so well, they decided to extend it as long as September 2025. And if I'm being honest, this could go either way. They could cut down the mission before that because they're facing unexpected issues with the space probe now, or if they address these issues with how valuable the Juno space probe has been, they might extend it beyond 2025. Initially, its mission was to look beneath the dense clouds on the planet and help scientists answer burning questions about the origin and evolution of the enigmatic gas giant. And ever since it completed its 2.7 billion kilometer journey, it served well as it was designed to in its primary mission. But towards the end, the spacecraft's objectives evolved, and soon enough, it turned into a full Jupiter system explorer with flybys of Jovian moons. And now, after sending back enough sensitive data about the Jovian moons, Ganymede and Europa, the spacecraft is set to take pictures of Io.
As of March 2020, Juno has been orbiting Jupiter for nearly 4 years.
In fact, according to NASA, Jupiter's moon Io is the most volcanic place in our solar system. And needless to say, Juno is going to be focused on Io for the rest of its extended mission, expected to last for 1.5 years. Having said that, over the last couple of years, Juno has taught us a lot of exciting stuff. For starters, Jupiter's auroras are out of this world, literally. For a pretty long time, scientists figured that the planet's super glowy auroras weren't so different as the ones on Earth. But in September 2017, Juno scientists announced that the spacecraft flipped that assessment. It turns out some sort of turbulent acceleration process causes the brightest auroras. If anything, the latest data shows that as the power density of the auroral generation becomes stronger and stronger, the process becomes even more unstable. A new acceleration process takes over entirely, and if that wasn't surprising enough, wait till you hear this. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is even weirder than we thought. Right until Juno came along, scientists couldn't even properly gauge the depths of Jupiter's most infamous hurricane. But Juno's first ever flyby over the Great Red Spot in July 2017 completely changed that. It turns out the Great Red Spot's roots go up to 50 to 100 times deeper than the Earth's oceans. Not only that, but it's only warmer at the base than they are at the top. Of course, the winds are responsible for the difference in temperature. In fact, the warmth at the spot's base pretty much explains all the ferocious winds the scientists have been talking about, the ones right at the top of the atmosphere. Having said that, the Juno space probe has contributed to the scientific world more than we imagined. And now you know why NASA was still fuming over Juno, or specifically, Juno Cam.